Remember when your entire sense of style could be summed up by a chunky beaver logo and denim that matched from collar to ankle? There was a time in Canada when getting dressed wasn't about scrolling Instagram or chasing viral trends. It was about surviving February bus stops, looking sharp at the mall food court, and wearing your national pride like a uniform. Today, we're going to explore how Canada dressed in the 1980s. Whether you rocked power shoulders to your first job interview, owned an Expo 86 cap you actually wore, or remember the squeak of double denim on a Saturday night, you're about to walk back into a decade when clothes told you exactly where someone was from and what they valued. So what actually made an outfit feel Canadian in the 80s, besides being warm enough to survive a blizzard? Let's dive in. The beaver crew neck. Let's start where we left off, that Roots sweatshirt. This wasn't just a piece of clothing, it was a vibe, a shorthand, a statement that required zero explanation. The beaver crew neck was the unofficial uniform of Canadian cozy. You wore it on lazy Saturdays to hockey practice, over a turtleneck when the temperature dropped, or layered under a parka when it dropped even further. The beauty of the Roots crew neck was its simplicity. No loud patterns, no flashy colors, just solid fabric, usually gray, burgundy, or forest green, and that bold beaver logo stamped across the chest like a badge of belonging. It said, "I'm from here, and I'm fine with that." In a decade when American brands dominated mall racks and European fashion felt impossibly distant, Roots gave Canadians something to claim as their own. The brand's rise in the 80s wasn't accidental. Roots leaned into the idea of Canadian heritage and outdoor life, even if most of its customers never set foot in a canoe. The sweatshirt became a symbol of weekend ease, of not trying too hard, of being comfortable in your own skin and your own country. You'd see it everywhere, in mall food courts, on subway platforms, at cottage bonfires, in university lecture halls. Saturday morning, mid-February, you're at the Eaton Center with a tray of fries smothered in gravy, sitting on a bench near the fountain. Your Roots crew neck is slightly too big, sleeves bunched at the wrists, and you've got both hands wrapped around a styrofoam cup of hot chocolate, like it's the only thing keeping you alive. Outside, it's -15. Inside, you're warm, full, and exactly where you're supposed to be. By the early 90s, fashion started shifting towards slimmer silhouettes and different branding codes. Streetwear was rising, minimalism was creeping in, the big, boxy, logo-forward sweatshirt started to feel a bit too 80s. Roots didn't disappear, far from it, but the crew neck lost its status as the default cozy top. New players, new cuts, new codes took over. But for a solid stretch of the 1980s, that beaver crew neck was as Canadian as a snowbank in April. The Canadian tuxedo. Now let's talk about the outfit that became a national joke and a national treasure at the same time. The Canadian tuxedo. Denim jacket, denim jeans, worn together, worn proudly, worn like it's the most normal thing in the world, because in Canada, it was. The term Canadian tuxedo supposedly traces back to 1951, when Bing Crosby was refused entry to a Vancouver hotel because he was wearing denim. Levi's, in response, made him a custom denim tuxedo jacket. The story stuck, and the nickname became legend. But in the 1980s, the look wasn't a novelty, it was a staple. Everyone had a denim jacket, everyone had jeans, and plenty of people wore them together without a second thought. The 80s version of the Canadian tuxedo came with a twist: louder washes, acid treatments, boxier fits, and more. I just left a rock concert energy. Denim wasn't just practical, it was cool. It was rebellious without being too rebellious. It was rugged without being too serious. It worked for a night out, a school dance, a concert, or just hanging around outside the rink waiting for your ride. You're standing outside a high school gym on a Friday night, waiting for the doors to open for the dance. You're wearing your denim jacket over a band tee, jeans slightly too tight, and your jacket has pins on the lapel. Maybe a band, maybe a slogan, maybe just something you thought looked cool. The denim squeaks a little when you move. There's a mystery stain on one sleeve. You don't care. You feel good. The full matching denim set started to lose its grip as the 90s brought in new textures, new fabrics, and new silhouettes. Denim stayed, always stayed, but the full top-to-bottom uniform stopped being the default go-to. Fashion moved on, but the Canadian tuxedo never fully died. It just became ironic, then retro, then cool again in a different way. Power shoulders. If the crew neck was weekend ease and double denim was Friday night freedom, then power shoulders were Monday morning ambition. The 1980s suit silhouette was built on one idea: presence. You walked into a room and your shoulders walked in first. Blazers and coats came loaded with shoulder pads, so structured they could double as body armor. This wasn't just a Canadian thing, it was global. But in Canada, it hit hard in the corporate world, in government offices, in TV studios, and in the aspirational imagery that filled fashion magazines and late-night television. Fashion television, launched in 1985 on Toronto's City TV, played a huge role in translating runway ideas into everyday vibes. Hosted by Jean Beaker, the show took fashion seriously but made it accessible. It showed Canadians that expensive looks could be adapted, that style wasn't just for New York or Paris, that you could make a statement even if you bought your blazer at the mall. Power shoulders became shorthand for authority. They said, "I'm here to work, I'm here to win, I'm here to be taken seriously." And in a decade when more women were entering professional spaces and corporate culture was shifting fast, that silhouette mattered. You're sitting in a waiting room for your first real job interview. Your blazer is navy with sharp shoulders and gold buttons. You're nervous, palms sweating, but when you catch your reflection in the glass door, you stand a little taller. The blazer makes you feel 10% braver, like you're already the person you're trying to become. By the early 90s, fashion softened, shoulders dropped, silhouettes relaxed. The corporate armor look started to feel too aggressive, too stiff, too 80s. The new decade wanted ease, wanted fluidity, wanted less structure, and more breath. The power shoulder didn't vanish entirely. It cycled back every few years, but its reign as the dominant office look was over. Telling and preparing this video took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the video. Mall going out clothes. Friday night. You're getting ready with friends. Music's blasting. Someone's curling hair. Someone's debating which top looks more expensive. The mission: look good enough to get noticed, shiny enough to catch the light, fitted enough to feel confident. Welcome to the world of mall going out clothes. Le Chateau, founded in Montreal back in 1959, hit its stride in the 1980s as the go-to spot for fashion-forward, club-ready looks. The stores were slick, the clothes were dramatic, and the whole vibe screamed, "You're going somewhere tonight." Shiny fabrics, bold cuts, fitted blazers, high-waisted pants, metallic accents. Everything felt a little bit edgy, a little bit expensive, even if you were working with a part-time paycheck. This wasn't everyday wear. This was event wear. But the events were frequent enough, concerts, dances, bar nights, birthday dinners, that these pieces became wardrobe essentials. You'd buy one standout item and rotate it for months, pairing it with basics to stretch its mileage. You're in a Le Chateau change room under fluorescent lights that somehow make everything look both better and worse. You're trying on a black blazer with satin lapels, twisting to check the fit in the mirror. Your friend outside the curtain says, "Get it? You look amazing." You hesitate. It's more than you plan to spend, but you get it anyway, because Friday night is in 2 days, and you need to feel like someone worth noticing. The 90s brought different nightlife aesthetics. Grunge crept in, minimalism crept in. The super shiny, super structured 80s club uniform started to feel dated. Le Chateau adapted and survived for decades, but the specific mall glam energy of the 80s gave way to looser, darker, more understated going-out codes. Better basics: clean, preppy, neutral. Not everyone wanted to sparkle on Friday night. Some people just wanted to look put together without screaming for attention. Enter the world of better basics: simple, sharp, neutral pieces that whispered sophistication instead of shouting it. Club Monaco launched in Toronto in 1985 with a clear mission: offer clean, well-made basics for people who wanted to look good without overthinking it. The aesthetic was preppy but not precious, neutral but not boring, affordable but not cheap-looking. It was the antidote to neon overload, the quiet cousin of 80s excess. This was the wardrobe for people who wanted to feel slightly adult, even if they still lived with their parents. It was the outfit you wore to a coffee date, a job interview at a boutique, a casual Sunday brunch. It said, "I have taste, and I don't need to prove it." You're walking through the Eaton Center on a Saturday afternoon, iced coffee in hand, wearing a cream-colored turtleneck and high-waisted black pants. You pass a mirror and catch yourself mid-stride. You think, "I look like I have my life together." You don't, but the outfit helps. Why did it fade? It didn't really. Basics never die. They just evolve. But the 90s brought a casual revolution that reshaped what clean and simple meant. Streetwear influences, new silhouettes, and a shift away from preppy codes meant the Club Monaco vibe had to adjust. The brand survived, but the specific 80s version of better basics became one option among many, not the default. Cabin cozy mall wear. If Club Monaco was city sophistication, Northern Reflections was cottage nostalgia, even if you'd never been to a cottage in your life. Founded in Guelph in 1985 as a division of Woolworth Canada, Northern Reflections specialized in soft sweaters, woodsy prints, and a weekend at the lake vibe that felt both aspirational and accessible. The aesthetic was pure Canadian pastoral: deer, pine trees, plaid accents, earth tones, and fabrics that felt like a hug. You didn't need to own a cabin to wear Northern Reflections. You just needed to want to feel cozy, wholesome, and connected to some imagined version of the Canadian wilderness. This was the brand your parents trusted for back-to-school shopping. It was the sweater your aunt gave you for Christmas. It was the cardigan you wore on picture day because it made you look nice without trying too hard. You're in a mall with a parent who's saying, "Get something that will last." You're looking at a forest green sweater with a tiny embroidered moose. You don't love it, but you don't hate it either. You get it. You wear it for years. Eventually, it becomes the sweater you grab on cold mornings without thinking, the one that smells like home. Why did it fade? Malls changed. Trends sped up. The heritage cozy look stopped being the loudest voice in youth fashion. Fast fashion arrived, offering cheaper, trendier alternatives. Northern Reflections still exists, but the 80s version of cabin cozy mall wear lost its cultural dominance as tastes shifted toward faster, flashier, more globally influenced styles. Workwear as everyday wear. Not all 80s Canadian fashion lived in the mall. Some of it lived in garages, construction sites, warehouses, and oil fields, and then came home, still on people's backs, and became everyday wear. Mark's Work Warehouse started in Calgary in 1977, selling durable, practical gear for people who needed clothes that could take a beating. By the 1980s, the brand had spread across the country, becoming the go-to spot for work boots, heavy-duty jackets, denim that didn't quit, and flannel that could survive a decade of wear. But here's the thing. Workwear wasn't just for work. It became part of the Canadian aesthetic, blending function and identity. A sturdy jacket wasn't just protective gear. It was a signal. It said, "I work hard. I don't waste money. I don't need to impress you with labels." This was the uniform of dads, uncles, tradespeople, and anyone who valued durability over trends. It was the jacket that smelled like sawdust and motor oil. It was the boots that lasted so long, they became part of the family lore. You're 6 years old, awake too early, watching your dad get ready for work. He zips up a tan canvas jacket, pulls on steel-toed boots, grabs his lunch pail. The door opens. Cold air rushes in. You hear the truck start. You go back to bed. That jacket, decades later, still hangs in a closet somewhere, still functional, still smelling faintly of the 80s. It didn't fade so much as it got absorbed. Workwear stayed essential, but as office jobs grew and white-collar culture expanded, the workwear everywhere aesthetic weakened in urban spaces. Meanwhile, fashion started borrowing workwear codes, flannels, boots, durable denim, and repackaging them as style, not function. The line between work clothes and fashion blurred, and the original utilitarian vibe became just one option among many. Winter boots, that meant business. Let's be honest, Canadian fashion in the 80s wasn't about looking cute in winter. It was about survival, and survival meant boots. Big, heavy, insulated, waterproof boots that could handle slush, ice, snowbanks, freezing wind, and the occasional surprise puddle that soaked through everything else you owned. Sorel, with its origins tracing back to 1962 and the Kaufman Rubber Company in Canada, became synonymous with serious winter footwear. The classic Sorel boot, thick rubber sole, removable felt liner, lace-up design, wasn't trying to be fashionable. It was trying to keep your toes attached to your body. These boots were ugly. Nobody pretended otherwise, but they worked. You wore them to shovel the driveway, to wait for the bus, to walk to school, to trek through unplowed parking lots. You wore them until the rubber cracked or the liner wore out, and even then, you kept them around as backups. It's February. There's a snowbank taller than you are. You're jumping from the top, boots first, sinking deep, laughing. Your socks are wet anyway, they always get wet, but your toes are warm. That's the victory. Winter boots didn't disappear, but lighter materials, new insulation technologies, and evolving style expectations changed the game. By the 90s and 2000s, winter boots started to look sleeker, lighter, more lifestyle than pure survival. The big classic Sorel boot remained iconic, but it was no longer the only option or the default option for Canadian winters. Event merch you actually wore. In the 1980s, souvenir clothing wasn't just a novelty, it was a legitimate wardrobe category. And nothing illustrated that better than Expo 86. From May to October 1986, Vancouver hosted the World's Fair, pulling in over 22 million visitors. The event was massive, international, and deeply Canadian in its execution. And like any major event, it produced a tidal wave of merchandise: caps, tees, visors, jackets, bags, pins, patches, you name it. But here's what made Expo 86 merch different. People actually wore it, not just once, not just at the event. They wore it for years. It became part of the rotation. You'd see Expo caps at hockey rinks, Expo tees at summer barbecues, Expo jackets at school drop-offs. The merch wasn't just proof you were there, it was proof you were part of something big. You're a kid, standing in line with your family, clutching a brand new Expo 86 cap. It's too big. The brim keeps slipping over your eyes. You don't care. It's yours, and it's cool, and you're going to wear it until it falls apart. Why did it fade? The event ended. That's the simple answer. Expo 86 merch had a shelf life tied to the fair itself. As the 90s rolled on, the novelty wore off, the colors faded, and the pieces migrated to closets, basements, and thrift stores. But for a few years in the late 80s, Expo gear was everywhere, a shared symbol of a moment when Canada felt big, optimistic, and ready to show off. The 80s fashion megaphone. Finally, let's talk about the medium that amplified everything: television, specifically fashion television. Launched in 1985 on City TV and hosted by Jean Baker, fashion television wasn't just a TV show, it was a cultural pipeline. It took runway fashion, designer insights, and global trends and translated them into something regular Canadians could understand, adapt, and aspire to. It made fashion feel accessible, exciting, and relevant, even if you were shopping at a suburban mall. The show had energy, fast cuts, bold visuals, interviews with designers, runway footage, street style. It told viewers that fashion wasn't just for the wealthy or the elite, it was for anyone paying attention. And in the 80s, when cable TV was still king and late-night channel surfing was a ritual, fashion television became a discovery zone. It's 11 p.m., you're flipping channels, half asleep. Suddenly, bright lights, pounding music, models walking fast, clothes you've never seen in real life. You stop, you watch, you think, is that what cool people wear? You don't know, but you're curious. It didn't fade immediately. Fashion television ran for decades, but its influence as the main fashion window weakened as media fragmented. Magazines, specialty channels, and eventually the internet all offered new ways to access fashion content. The one big TV fashion pipeline mattered less as more pipelines opened up. The show remained beloved, but the era when it was the primary fashion education tool for Canadians came to a close. Thanks for taking this trip down memory lane with us. If this video brought back memories of your own 1980s wardrobe or made you laugh at what your parents used to wear, hit that like button and subscribe for more Canadian nostalgia. Got a memory to share? Drop it in the comments below.